Hi, I'm Divine Harmony. I'm an astrologer and a writer with a background in depth psychology. Today I'm going to talk about the cosmic insight for the week of Monday, March 25th through Sunday, March 31st. There is so much going on this week that I cannot encapsulate it all in this video blog. For detailed information, please check my weekly astrology forecast on my website. But for a synopsis, I will wrap it all up here. If you thought last week was intense, you are probably going to find this week to be even more interesting. We have a lot of Uranus square Pluto going on at the moment. It's not actually aspecting by degree exactly this week, or last week for that matter, but personal planets are activating it. If you recall, Uranus is square Pluto from 2012 to 2015, and it's a long-term generational transit of radical change and transformation. But it's also a time where the mantra breakdowns precede breakthroughs is important to keep in mind. Because anything that's out of alignment, out of integrity, stagnant, stuck, toxic, no longer working, Uranus-Pluto is going to come in and kind of rip the rug out from underneath the carpet. And it can be very activating and very anxiety-producing initially, but what it's trying to do is liberate us and free us from attachments to toxic, stagnant, stuck patterns, situations, people, attitudes. Things essentially that keep us tethered to the past. This energy, although very intense, is very cathartic and transformative. And last week and this week, it's incredibly amplified in many ways. On Tuesday, Mars completes his activation of the Uranus-Pluto square that began last Friday. If you recall, I called Friday of last week D-Day. Mars aligned with Uranus by degree and declination, making for a super aspect. This week on Tuesday, Mars squares Pluto. Mars is the lower will, Pluto is the higher will. When they come together in intense ways, it can be like a battle for control and power. The best use of this energy is to turn within and see where we need to surrender ego attachments to being in control so that something higher can guide us. It can also be used for immense transformation and moving mountains, literally or metaphorically. The shadow of this energy, though, can be very destructive. There can be a lot of rage and anger that's exploding out in the environment. Pay attention to what's going on globally and in the news, because oftentimes transits of this nature erupt in the collective in ways that are visible to all of us. But on a personal level, pay attention to your emotions and your energy, and particularly your anger and your rage. Learning how to work with it and channel it in constructive rather than destructive ways is really important right now, as things can get out of hand if you do not have personal mastery or control over your own energies. Wednesday is the powerful full moon in Libra. Full moons are always a pitting of the sun opposite the moon, the conscious self opposite the unconscious. At the time of the full moon, we actually have the conscious self fully illuminating the unconscious, and all the energy that we're not aware of can be brought to light. This can be illuminating. This can also be very intense if things are coming up that we've been denying, ignoring, or trying to sweep under the rug. Libra is the sign of peace and balance and harmony, and yet all of the Aries, Uranus, Pluto energy present right now is kind of at odds with that. Uranus-Pluto is trying to bring up the shadow and is very activating, whereas Libra wants to keep it all peaceful and pretty on the surface. Deep emotional energies that Libra would not consider pretty or peaceful can erupt if they're not given their due. This full moon is opposite Uranus and square Pluto. So essentially, the breakdowns and breakthrough energies are coming through this full moon. It's very powerful, and it needs to be channeled with consciousness. The day after the full moon on Thursday, the Sun, Venus, and Uranus all align. The conscious self and ego, the goddess of love, beauty, and partnership, and the rebel and the revolutionary all get together in the sign of Aries. The best use of this energy is making radical changes and evolutionary leaps in relationships and finances. But again, there can be a breaking away, sudden change, breakups, and breakthroughs that can all happen as well. The week ends with both the Sun and Venus squaring Pluto on Sunday. So as you recall, Mars began the trigger of Uranus-Pluto last week and completed that earlier this week. The Sun and Venus are now doing this week from the middle to the end of this week. Sunday, Pluto energy dominates. Pluto is the lord of the underworld. He exposes the shadow. He exposes what's toxic, what's not working, what's stagnant, stuck, and he's kind of intense. With the conscious self and ego and the goddess of love, beauty, and relationship going head to head with Pluto, there can be power control dynamics that erupt in relationships with other people. The best use of this energy is to acknowledge the shadow and transform and evolve in relationships, in finances, in our own self, worth, and identity. The month of March goes out with a bang, but next week we'll lighten up. I recommend that we stay out of victim mentality and take the bull by the horns and take positive action in our lives right now. Yours in the stars.